All right, essential words. Advanced. Let's start with the word advance as noun. Advance as noun, advance also as verb. So advance is both noun and verb. Can somebody give me an example for advance as noun? As noun.
Technology advance.
Technology advance or?
Technological.
Yes. Technological advances. So technological advances. The latest advances made in the field of nanotechnology. Nano is double N or? So the latest advances made in the field of, yeah, it's one N. Nanotechnology. I'm going to write this nano again. So nanotechnology. So advances made in the field of nanotechnology. Advance also has a sexual overtone to it. For example, she rejected his sexual advances. She rejected I always pronounce this rejection. His advances. So advances here, if I ever say that, what does that mean? She rejected his advances. Yeah? We know what in advance means? In advance?
Beforehand.
To pay in advance. For example, you say you should notify us 2 weeks in advance. If you ever want to cancel the meeting, for example, you should do it 2 weeks in advance. Or if you want to change your address, you should notify us in advance. Before, in advance. And then we have advance payments as adjective. So then advance is adjective. So advance payments. It means to pay in advance. So in advance is good. So advances noun, advances made in the medical field. In the medical field. In the field of nanotechnology. In the medical field. The latest advances made in the medical field. Or in the medical field. She rejected his advances. To pay in advance, to do something in advance. Fine? Do we have advanced level or advanced level? Advanced level, like A level, or is it advanced level? Advanced English or advanced English?
Advanced.
So A level You do A levels in England, right? We have O level, A level, right? A level. Is advanced level. So the General Certificate of Education advanced level.
Advanced.
So remember, this is advanced level.
And she rejected his advances.
These are advances. That's advance.
So I don't really understand what is this advances.
Yeah, when actually he tries to somehow entice her to start a relationship with him. That's different. So he does different things to court the girl. So she rejected his advances. At workplace, a man trying to reach out to the woman and doing certain things. So she rejected all his
I
advances.
give her some privilege.
No, it's not just a privilege, it's reaching out. It could be physical, it could be verbal, it could be saying things and trying to, these are all advances. If I go to long man, and then I go to noun, advances noun, it will tell you. For example, I should warn you in advance that I'm not a very good dancer, okay? Many thanks in advance for your help. 6 months, a year in advance, whatever. Be in advance of somebody. Advance in, advance on, advances, advances. So she accused her boss of making advances to her. The witness said that he went berserk when she rejected his sexual advances to attempt to start a sexual relationship with someone. Yeah? A $500 advance is when you get your salary part of it first, right? Advance on, advances made in the understanding of mental handicap. Recent advances in genetics. A major advance, technological, scientific, medical advance. Yeah. The book tickets 20 days in advance. Book tickets 20 days in advance. 2 weeks in advance. 2 weeks in advance. In advance. Book tickets. You should book tickets 2 weeks in advance. 3 weeks in advance. 20 days in advance. Means before the event. And instead of the word before in your writing, you can use a better phrase, which would be prior to. Prior to. So 2 weeks prior to the event, prior to his dismissal, is before he was dismissed. We have prior to, meaning before. So prior to his dismissal, dismissal is when he was dismissed, kicked out, fired, prior to his dismissal. Yeah? What does in the wake of mean? In the wake of. In the wake of the disaster. Following. In the wake of the disaster, this wake, in the wake of something, following something. In the wake of the disaster, following the disaster. And I want you to really learn this. Prior to is easy. What did you do prior to coming to Canada? Prior to arriving here in Canada? Prior to this job? Prior to? So prior to means before. In the wake of the accident, in the wake of the disaster, following the disaster, right? after the disaster. So these are the words and expressions you can use when you write, or even when you speak, to upgrade your speaking and writing, the level, a little bit. So advance. Please remember advances now. The latest technological advances, the latest medical advances, or advances made, make, advance. So you see, we have make, that's a collocation. Advances made in the field of nanotechnology, in the field of scientific advances. Technological, you can also say scientific.
But it
So you can say, thanks to or due to. So thanks to the latest technological advances. My grandmother was cured thanks to the latest thanks to the latest advances made in the field of medicine and cancer treatment.
it's not the latest advances were made, but it made.
Made.
Uh,
When we look at clauses, I will tell you how we, first of all, for advance we never say who. Who is for people. For things we say that, which, that, not who. Who is for people.
yes.
And we can, in clauses, we study that you can omit things, and we usually omit things. The man who is standing there, we usually say the man standing there.
Yes.
So we usually reduce the clauses to phrases. We'll look at that grammatically. But the advances made, the latest advances that have been made, that's a good point she raised.
It's not finish the sentence if you admit that, right?
No.
The latest advance made in the field of.
Yes, the latest advances made in the field of, thanks to the latest advances, instead of saying that have been made or which have been made, instead of saying advances which have been
Yeah.
made, we simply say goodbye to which have been.
But is this considered as unfinished sentence?
No,
Because
no. When we look at clauses, and I will start teaching you clauses this week, when you look at clauses you will see that you can reduce a clause to a phrase. How? This way. The man who is standing there is my friend. The man standing there is my friend.
But
You
if
say goodbye to who is standing. No, it's a
But you
complete
don't have
sentence.
is my friend, so that's not going to be finished, completed.
Yeah, it's
Because you
complete.
have is my friend, but this one don't have the another part, the second part.
No, yes, it does have it because you say thanks to the latest advances made
This, but only
in the
this
field of
part,
technology, comma,
yes.
and then the rest of the
Yeah.
sentence.
That's true, but if only this is not completed, right? So latest advancement in the field of nanotechnology. Is this
Yeah, that's
correct?
an independent, the whole thing would be a dependent clause, yes.
Oh,
So you need this other one. Also there, the man standing there is not complete.
yeah.
Even the man who is standing there is not complete. Okay, the man who is standing there what? These are dependent clauses. We will look at the dependent clauses today. But those are dependent clauses. So in clauses we have dependent, independent. We will look at them. The man who is standing there, okay. So it's dependent. It's not finished. It's not complete. The latest advances made in technology. It's just a clause. So, does it make sense? I want you to learn the collocations. Scientific advances, technological advances, medical advances. These three are good. You can use this phrasing, thanks to the latest technological advances. Yeah? Technological and telecommunication advances. We can now communicate with our relatives hundreds of miles away, sitting right here in Canada, via video or audio conferences and communications. So, thanks to something. Cool. Yeah? So how about, so noun, verb, and adjective. How about verb? So please call me. Please, if you want to cancel, you should make any cancellation at least 2 weeks. 2 weeks in advance. Advance payment, advance warning system. What is the advance warning system would be? A warning system that warns people in advance. Yeah? Advanced level. This course is for advanced students. Advanced.
High level.
It's an advanced level, not advanced level. Advanced level. A level in Britain, advanced level, right? So how about to advance? To advance. The German army? No, to advance. On British borders. Advanced on the disease advanced very quickly. Cancer advances and spreads or metastasizes, right? Very quickly. You know, cancer metastasizes. Advances. So advance as noun, as verb. A line of US tanks slowly advanced. Troops advanced on the rebel stronghold. The army advanced across the plain. If knowledge advances, understanding it advances. Yeah. The German army advanced on the British borders. On British, let's say border. To advance. You will, Germany advanced to the quarterfinals. Yeah? Quarterfinals without trouble, without difficulty. Yeah? This past year, Germany advanced to the quarterfinals. So we would say in quarterfinals, how many teams play in quarterfinals usually? 8. How many teams will advance? 4. To the semifinals, right? So in quarterfinals, 8 teams play. 8 teams. It's a playoff, right? It's like 8 teams play off against each other. Against each other. So in the World Cup, in quarterfinals, so we have like the classifying matches, and of course we have different teams. But after the classifying matches, then we have the quarterfinals. So some teams, how many teams advance to the quarterfinals? 8 teams. And then there's the time when we have 16 teams, right? Semi-quarterfinals, something like that. But then 8 teams advance to quarterfinals. Then they play off, and from quarterfinals, 4 teams advance to semifinals. And then from semifinals, only 2 teams advance to the final. So that's advancing. Okay. Speaking of advance, we have some synonyms. If we're talking about advances made in the field of science, we have some other words that are similar. Now let's talk about some of those synonyms. Can you think of a synonym for advances made in some field? Or we're talking about technological advances. Can you think of some word for advance?
Emerge, no?
Oh, you have what? You have advanced a lot? Your English has advanced a lot? You can see some of this stuff. Your English has advanced a lot. Usually you have made. To make. Progress. And to progress is verb. Progression. To improve. Of course. Improvement. To make improvements. To improve. To make progress. With progress, we make progress. Of course, we have words such as to ameliorate, which is not a word that I would like to give you right now. To get better, simply. To get better, which is opposite of to get worse, right? What is the opposite of improving? To
deteriorate.
Very good, deteriorate. Or to worsen. You know worse? Worsen. Things are to get worse, and we have to worsen. If a situation is getting worse, it is deteriorating. Deterioration. So things haven't got better. Things have gotten worse. Things are getting worse. I have a feeling, I have a hunch. Things are getting worse. Things are not getting better. Things are getting worse. Everything's deteriorating. Her health condition, her condition is not improving. She's deteriorating. I think, say deteriorate?
Deteriorate.
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 R.
Deteriorate.
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 Do it.
Deteriorate.
Holly.
Deteriorate.
Good. Deteriorate. Deterioration.
Deterioration.
So you would say the state of economy in Spain is deteriorating rather than improving. Instead of improving, things are deteriorating, getting worse and worse. Worsening. To worsen is to get worse. Things are worsening.
Ameliorate is a big word.
Yes, but it's now that you mention again. To ameliorate means to improve, to make things better. To ameliorate is to improve. And amelioration. Do you have this in French?
Yeah.
It's pretty much very close to improvement. Ameliorate. But it's a big word. I don't necessarily expect people to learn it. It is not clear what can be done to ameliorate the situation, to improve the situation. To ameliorate the situation, to improve the situation. Her health seems to be improving. Ameliorating. Improving. To ameliorate the situation conditions. The things are getting worse, deteriorating. So to make progress, scientific advances and progress. We also have advancement. Advancement. For the advancement of a society as a whole. So that's for advanced. Here we have advance and advancement. We have progressive. Advanced technology is changing the world. Advanced technology is changing the world. His advancement to captain came unexpectedly. Advancements to captain. Here we usually use the word promotion. If I'm advanced to captain from lower rank, we usually I've just been made captain. So this been made captain basically means he was promoted, right? To, for example, he was promoted to executive manager, sales manager. Sales manager. To the sales manager position. To the sales manager position. If you're made, I've just been made sales manager, it means it's a promotion. It's a kind of progress, but in the job sector, that's a promotion. Also, you can say he was promoted to promoted to or promoted as. He got promoted to a manager in his second year. I would have recommended that. He was promoted to prime minister. He was promoted as, which is correct. I would say promoted to. He was promoted to prime minister of the country as. Promote somebody to something. Helen was promoted to senior manager. So promote to, he was promoted to, and you can mention a position. He was promoted to the sales manager. He was promoted to sales manager.
Can you give an example with us?
Try not to use as. Promoted to. That was a threat. This is the dictionary. So this is a. He was promoted to senior manager. Yeah. And my example was to. He was promoted to, you can say either this position, sales manager position, or he was promoted to sales manager. The whole thing is promotion, right? Some businesses, they offer this chance for some jobs. There's a good chance for promotion, for going up. We have early promotions. That is, you work in a bank, for example, for 6 months, and then you'll be promoted from teller, bank teller, to let's say a mortgage negotiator, mortgage expert, officer, whatever, there's banking terms and all. And then you'll be promoted from this to that. So there are early promotions. So they would say there's room for growth. Room for growth. There are some jobs that offer good room for growth. That's space for growth and promotion. Now, of course, you remember that if your salary is promoted, it's not promoted. Say you ask for a raise. To get a raise, which is American English, rise would be British English. So if you get a raise or a pay hike, it means your salary will be more. Yes? If you're a good employee, you get a raise. Or pay hike.
Can you say augmentation? I get an augmentation.
No. That's for the breasts.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because we see that in French.
Can you
Augmentation.
Augmentation.
augmentation?
Yeah, so augmentation is actually enlarging something, but usually the boobs. Not this.
It's the same as Aumenta.
Or the salary, there's a raise or rise. Anyways, in the topic of jobs, we have talked about all these things. But now,
To make progress.
advance. So to make progress. Progress is good. To improve things. To make things better, not worse. Things are worsening means becoming worse. To worsen, to become worse. Yeah. Okay. Advantage. Good. So we have advantage and what's the opposite? Of course. Advantages and disadvantages. Can you speak louder? Advantages and disadvantages. Yes? Advantage versus disadvantage. What other words do we have? If you look at the advantages and disadvantages, you look at the,
The benefits and drawbacks.
very good, so let's say benefits, drawbacks, or setbacks. Drawbacks would be better. Merits and demerits. Pluses and minuses. Pluses and minuses. So you actually compare the pluses and minuses of something. Yeah. The pluses and minuses. Have you heard do's and don'ts? The do's and don'ts of something. Like the do's and don'ts of creating your own business.
Can you say best traits and weaknesses? Like
Strengths and weaknesses, yeah. Do's and don'ts. Strengths and weaknesses. Cons and pros. Advantages and disadvantages. Do's and don'ts of a system. Do's and don'ts of creating your own business. The things that you should do and the things that you shouldn't do. Do this, do this, do this. Don't do that. Don't do this, don't do that. Do's and don'ts. Strengths and weaknesses, that's a different story. So advantages and disadvantages. Sometimes you say the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. So the advantages outweigh the disadvantages.
You can also say outbalance.
No. But you can outshadow, that you can say. Outbalance, outbalance. Sounds good.
Yeah?
Yeah, but it's not something like a fluent read.
Outnumber.
But on paper it's good.
What about outnumber?
Yeah. For advantages and disadvantages, we don't usually look at them in terms of quantity, number. But we have the word outnumber is good. And we've had this before. Outnumber. But not for advantages and disadvantages. If we were outnumbered by the enemy, we were outnumbered by the enemy. Maybe 3-1. 3-1. It means for every one of us, there were 3 enemies. We were outnumbered by the enemy. There were more enemies than us. Bad students always outnumber good students. Is that correct? Not really. Bad people outnumber nice people? Or the opposite?
How about this?
Good people outnumber the bad people?
In Canada.
Okay. It depends on how you look at this. It depends on how optimistic or pessimistic you are. Some people are really pessimistic and cynical about people. They say bad people outnumber good people. That means bad people are more in numbers than good people. So usually you're asked to look at when you compare and contrast two things, you'll look at the advantages and disadvantages, pros and cons on both sides. You would say both sides have both options, both sides, both whatever. Imagine there's two things. Both things. Now, it could be both choices, both options, both anythings have their advantages and disadvantages, have their merits and demerits. That could be both systems. You can say each and every one, each and every one, each and every one of, each and every one of the choices, items, or anything that's out there could have their advantages and disadvantages. But in my opinion, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. This is a very good phrase if you're ever taking a test and they usually ask you to compare two things in writing or in speech. For example, if somebody asks you about home ownership or renting, owning a car or using public transport, it's good to always start by acknowledging both sides. You would say both have their advantages and disadvantages. But in my opinion, for example, owning a private vehicle outweighs the advantages of owning a private vehicle outweighs the disadvantages. The advantages of owning a vehicle outweigh the disadvantages. But for me, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. It means the advantages are heavier. The advantage side is heavier for me. So I prefer to own a car, for example. So this structure, it's good to be able to use the sentence. But as far as I'm concerned, yeah, in my opinion, so I can say, in my opinion, as far as I'm concerned, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Personally, I believe the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. So the merits of a system and the demerits of a system. Pluses and minuses. Let's take a look at the pros and cons. Pros and cons are actually arguments for and against something. For and against, or against. Are you for this or against it? So for or against. If I ask you, are you for it or against it? Are you for abortion or against abortion? You can say there are many arguments on both sides, both for and against. But personally, I believe this or that. Okay. Speaking of advantage, we have the word advantageous and advantageously. If something is advantageous to you, he was advantageously born into a rich family. Yeah? And advantages. So we have advantages, but advantageous. Advantageous, right? He's in the advantageous position. For example, position. Or you say he has the advantage. He has the advantage of being the boss. So there's no way I can compete with him, huh? Whatever he says I should listen to. He has the advantage of you're playing soccer, and you say our opponents have the advantage of playing in their home. They have the advantage of, he has the advantage of something. Our opponent has the advantage of playing in their home. They're playing in their home, that's their advantage. Our advantage is, we have higher spirits. We have 3 victories in our record. So we come with a stronger background and higher morale. That's our advantage. So advantageous, advantageous. This puts him in an advantageous position.
Can you also say advantages?
No, for the no. So it's advantageous. He was now in a more advantageous position, and we have disadvantageous. Doesn't say 1 to 5. So he was now in a more advantageous position. Terms advantageous to foreign companies. Advantageous to foreign companies, advantageously. And disadvantageous. He is now in the disadvantageous position of, so advantageous and disadvantageous. Yeah. So advantageous, advantageously. He was advantageously born in a rich family. Born into a rich family. So if you're advantageously born into a rich family, that's an advantage. Advent is the word that Chris used beginning today. The advent of Christmas. Advent. The advent of computers. The advent of Christmas. With a capital C, actually. Or no. So the advent of computers, the advent of Christmas. Advent means the arrival, coming, the arrival.
Like the calendar.
Advent calendar. A special calendar. One starts counting days down to the Christmas day. Advent calendar. So Advent calendars start from counting down, start counting down days to Christmas. 9, 8, 7, 6. So this is also very good in your writing. If you want to say the advent of computers, with the advent of computers, everything changed. With the advent of electricity, with the advent of electricity.
Invention.
Hmm?
Invention.
Yeah, the advent of the invention age, for example. Advent. The advent of the computer. When something first begins to be widely used. The advent of something. Here, the example should be, with the advent of computers, many tasks have been made easier. Many things have been made easier, right? With the advent of computers, many tasks. The newspapers announced the advent of the concert season. The newspapers announced the advent of the concert season. Now, it's the advent of Christmas. Christmas is just around the corner. Christmas is just around the corner. Around the corner means? Means approaching, right? Fast approaching. So fast approaching. You say with Christmas fast approaching, with the shopping, I want you to use this phrase. With something fast approaching. With something fast approaching.
Did you say fastly approaching?
No, there's no word such as fastly, right? Because fast is an adverb too.
But if you use quick instead of fast, do you then say quickly?
Yes, but we don't use quickly approaching.
Accepted.
You should say touche.
Yeah.
So I would say with Christmas fast approaching, with the holiday season
like when you.
Holiday.
Say tuition.
Season fast approaching.
Go to.
So with the holiday season fast approaching, people are scrambling to shops to buy Christmas trees and ornaments to decorate their houses. With winter fast approaching, with the cold season fast approaching, with Christmas just around the corner, just around the corner, around the corner, or just around the corner, fast approaching, so with Christmas fast approaching, with the holiday season fast approaching, oh, yes, thank you.
Holiday season.
Holiday season. With the holiday season fast approaching, or with the holiday season just around the corner, now actually we're actually within the holiday season now, but a month ago I would say with the holiday season fast approaching, just around the corner. Okay. I am now in disadvantageous position of being a simple employee. So a boss or a manager is in an advantageous position, right? Agile. Chris, what is agile?
When something can move easily, navigate itself easily.
Navigate. Yeah. So agile. What is agile? Saki. Agile. Agile. The old lady was surprisingly agile for her age. Surprisingly agile for her age. There's this old lady, she jumped in front of everyone and cut through and just, jumped over the TTC, the entrance. There's a pike when we have to there's a turnpike when you have to turn. So somebody jumps over that, an old woman, you wouldn't expect it from a 75-year-old woman or an 80-year-old man. Jump over the something like so fast. That was very agile for no woman. So agile, what is agile? Is adjective, right? If you're agile, you're fast and quick. And agility, it could be mental agility, right? It's mentally agile. If you're physically agile or mentally agile, it means you're very fast in your way of thinking. Dogs are surprisingly agile. He was physically strong and mentally agile. He was physically strong and mentally agile. A mentally agile person is sharp, right? Very intelligent. If you're mentally agile, he was physically strong and mentally agile. That's Chris. Agility.
But you can also say sharp, like mentally sharp.
I say he's sharp. You don't need to say mentally. A sharp kid is a sharp guy. How do you read the next word? Saki, how do you read the next word? Tui, how do you read the next word?
Albeit.
Albeit. Albeit tired, even though he was tired, albeit tired, he decided to, or John decided to continue. So if albeit usually followed by an adjective, it means even though. And there's more than even to it, because you can say even though tired. Albeit tired means albeit he was tired. His trip was successful, albeit tiring. Albeit difficult at times, speaking another language is rewarding. Albeit difficult at times, speaking another language is rewarding. Albeit difficult, speaking another language. So it means even although,
And yet.
yeah, another language is highly rewarding. And I want you to know the word rewarding. If something is rewarding, or a job is rewarding, or speaking a different language is rewarding, what does that mean? Because some people make the mistake of thinking that rewarding talks about money. One of my students took a TOEFL and made this huge mistake, thinking that a reward should mean salary. Not necessarily. They say a teacher's job is very rewarding. Teaching is a very rewarding job, even though the pay is not much. It's rewarding in different ways. You see the progress of the students, you see many things, and you feel good about it, you enjoy it. So it's not just money. So if something is rewarding, speaking a different language is quite rewarding. It basically means there are many benefits to it, not just money, right? It shouldn't be just financial. So if something's rewarding, there's the reward. So albeit difficult, although it's difficult. So but albeit, you don't say albeit it is difficult. You see that albeit plus adjective. Plus adjective. Which is different from here. So here, although we have subject plus whatever. Although he was tired, although the test was difficult, he managed to pass it very well. So although the test was difficult, he managed to pass it very well. Bless you.
Thank you.
Albeit difficult, he passed it very well.